Hey everyone, and a massive welcome to another special episode here on InfoSec Live. This time, the InfoSec Experience, where I'm going to be joined by Justin Merhoff for a deep dive into his career and his aspirations. For those that know him, Justin is an industry leader who's been absolutely instrumental in helping us shape the support within the InfoSec Live community. And as always, we're live with the chance for you, our audience, to ask us anything throughout. But before we begin, usual spiel. For those that are new to the channel, my name's Simon Lindstead. I'm the founder of the InfoSec Live community. And by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months, it's led to over 10,000 hours of our content being watched on YouTube by you, our amazing subscribers. And I think we're nearly hitting 6,500 of you as well, which is absolutely amazing. So a huge thank you for your engagement. And if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, including our 8-week workshop program headed up by our amazing community director, Precious, who I can see in the chat there, or just buy me a cheeky even decaf coffee, we do have a way on YouTube that you can show your appreciation. With 3 tiers of membership, allowing you to show your support in any way that you can, just click that join button if you'd like to help. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. So let's get stuck into the InfoSec Experience and bring Justin on. Made your own little intro there as well.
It's pretty cool. I think my kids are going to dig that too.
I think they probably will. Talking of kids, I should mention, got my 18-year-old who isn't a kid anymore, Sonny, in the back room today dealing with the chat. So big thank you to Sonny, and a big welcome to all of you in the chat. I can see that we've got a massive turnout today, and I think that speaks volumes, Justin, for the support that you've given us so far. So before we start, a massive thank you from me for all the help you've given myself and the community over the last few months since you've been a member. But let's use this as an opportunity for those that haven't met you before. Tell us a bit about who you are and where you come from.
So my name is Justin Merhoff. I'm originally from California in the US. And my grandfather was in the service, and so was my dad. And I didn't want him to pay for my college. And this was in 96, 97. So at 17, I signed up for the US military. And to help you guys, go watch a movie if you haven't. So there's a movie called True Lies with comedian Tom Arnold, and he's in this comm van and supports, The Spy, which I'm sure a ton of people have seen this kind of movie before. Well,
is this Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah. So yeah, I went to the station to where I picked what job I was, and I watched the laser disc of my job, and it was similar. It was a military type vehicle, and I'd be in the back and doing comms. So I thought I was literally going to be Tom Arnold. That's not exactly how the job turned out, but I say that to it was even kind of a thing back then, even before it was considered information security. I remember even back in the early days, I like sharing this, where it was considered by regulation secure of having, I was the password manager for the company, or the unit. So if anyone needed to change their password, they would come to me. And as long as it was behind 2 locks, a drawer safe and a door, then it was secure. But in today's landscape, that's not exactly the same. So things have been changing. So
More doors and more drawers, I think.
Right, more doors and drawers. Layers. No, that's perfect. Exactly, it is. It's more layering, right? So I took my military experience and helped. I felt like it wasn't a cockiness, but when I retired in 2017, I just felt like I did the government part, like it was done, and I needed to take that information and experience and go into the corporate world. So I did that, and along the way, I definitely had supporters, but then you might not think of them as supporters, but even the people that tell you no can end up being a supporter because they're not supporting you, but they help push you. So
they're firing you up.
Yeah,
right?
I applied. Yeah. I applied twice for 2 director positions and was turned down. Internal in my companies, I won't say which. And the first time I was turned down, I went ahead and I signed up because I only had 2 years of college. So I went ahead and signed up for my bachelor's degree the next day because I had been wanting to do it, but I just said screw it, and then I went and got my bachelor's, so I can compete. I mean, most of the people that are in our field, to where I'm at, probably have even a master's degree, but I also have the 25 years of experience to offset that. So, and
so how long did you serve for then, Justin?
20 years.
Wow.
Yep, in the U.S. Army. And so when I did my degree, it's good to share this. A lot of people think to get in, well, I was already in cybersecurity, but to progress in cybersecurity, it always has to be around that. Not the case. I was initially told by one of my mentors, well, if you want to be in this field, you need to get a degree in that field, because when you're looking for the jobs, they will sometimes say, master's in InfoSec or master's in IT or something, right? Well, I went complete different opposite. I got an applied management business degree because I felt like I knew most of the cyber world, but I didn't really understand the corporate business world. So I needed to understand marketing. I needed to understand HR and sales. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, but even from meeting people here in ISL, Jason is in ISL, and he has a podcast, all that salesy stuff. And I listened to his.
Jason Carrico,
Yep,
is this?
Jason Carrico.
Yeah, I met him in San Francisco. Really, really nice, genuine guy.
And he helped me understand that, the sales dance, and to try to understand both sides of it, because sometimes I get aggravated by BDRs coming to me without even, like, they didn't do any homework and they just want me to be on a call tomorrow. And it's like, that's not really going to happen. But also he helped me understand more on how I could be better and then take it to that. So in the nutshell, I utilized my military experience to go corporate, and I'm trying to better it even more daily. Always want to be a forever learner, and my goal is to be a CISO by I'm 50. My 44th birthday is this October, so I have 6 years.
Spring chicken is what I'd call you, Justin.
And it's I've talked to some people about this. I understand that sometimes it's not just it shouldn't only be about a title. And I agree with that, but also there's goals. It's just a personal goal of mine. So yeah.
You've got to have goals, otherwise nothing happens at all.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a session actually on Friday for the workshop cohort on soft skills goal setting, which I think is a huge important part of life, whether you're looking for work or looking to progress in your career. I want to just jump back to something you mentioned there before we dig in.
Cool. Yeah.
To how you've recruited and how we see the recruitment market at the moment. You mentioned about being inspired by other people and learning from other people. I want to do a special mention here for someone who's in the chat, or they are in the chat, who's only been a member of the community for a few weeks, but they've been nothing but a positive contributor, not just to the community, but to everyone in the community beyond InfoSec Live, LinkedIn and beyond, who's battling and trying to make their way in this industry. And this is someone who isn't working in the industry yet, and they're trying to break in themselves, but they're still being that cheerleader. And Joe Wells, you are everything
He's awesome.
this community should be about.
100%.
Because next week is our second birthday, and we've grown exponentially over the last 2 years. But the one thing I can tell you, and this might sound harsh, and I'm sorry if people take it the wrong way, percentagely, there's a lot more people in the community who are there for taking than there are for giving. And for a community to be successful, everyone has to do their own little part of contribution, and also look at it as a two-way street. And I think Joe Wells, super impressed with what I've seen. We haven't even had a chat yet. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you, but I wanted to give a special shout out because I've really noticed, and I know other people have noticed, the positivity and the engagement that you've got going out there at the moment. So enough blowing smoke up Joe's arse, otherwise his head will be too big to fit through his door when he goes out later.
Can I add to that? That's a good point.
Yeah, please do. Oh, mate, don't worry, Joe. I'll make Justin cry later. It's fine. It was your turn first.
What kind of bothers me is the siloing of information. If you join ISL or a group like this, right, and you benefit from it, why would you just benefit from yourself and not want to help others? Like, that's the whole freaking point.
I can tell you why if you want, and this might not be relevant to everyone. So for people that know my story, I spent a lot of my life focused on me, myself, and everything that I could do for that. Right. So driven by ego, arrogance, and financial gain. And I got all the things that I thought I wanted, and I was probably the most unhappy person I'd ever been. And it wasn't until I lost everything and reframed my life and what was important that I realized that helping other people and being a decent human being and contributing to society is one of the most fulfilling and rewarding things that you can do. But I think our society, Justin, doesn't bring us up to think like that.
Right.
So maybe not everyone's reason, but definitely mine.
Right. Agreed.
So it's funny, isn't it? We never met before, but when we finally did speak or had a brief conversation, it was clear that we'd been connected for some time, but perhaps didn't know it. And I want to talk about this, if you're okay to talk about it, because you gave a job or recruited someone who was one of the first members in the InfoSec Live community, was completely new to the industry. His name's Stewart. I think he's in the audience now, and you can feel your ears burning maybe a bit, Stewart. Tell me what it is. So there's loads of people out there trying to break into the industry.
Yeah.
What is it that can make people, and I'm using Stewart as an example here, I suppose, and leading you towards answering this question, but what is it people can do to stand out and get noticed by recruiters and employers?
So I'll talk about Stewart's story. So Stewart was from my understanding of it, he got a certification. It was around the pandemic time. He is a UK military veteran from Scotland, and he got a certification. Just like everyone knows, the cert mills were like telling him he's going to get all these jobs, and he applied for all these jobs, and everyone liked him, but they turned him down because he didn't have experience. So I don't know how he got to us, but at my last job, a manager who worked for me was the hiring manager, so I can't take all the credit. But I think he applied and the recruiter found him, or the recruiter found him. I can't remember. But we looked at it, and when we initially saw the resume before talking to him, I'll be honest, I didn't think that it fit. Now, that's partially my fault too, because I wasn't reading it how I would look at it now, with the understanding that past experience can still be within our field without being within our field. I mean, access control is access control. I mean, he was a physical security person, so he obviously knows access control at a different level, but it's still the concept he understood, right? Yeah. So he wasn't going into it completely blind. Oh, he's here. The policy wizard is here. Yay. So think about this. I love using his story because it just shows that what all of us currently think about our field is wrong. So Stewart broke into this industry in 2020. It's 2023, and he is an industry leader. So the excuse of, oh, it takes time to be a leader and a mentor, that's not true. You just need to push. But to segue back, what caught us was the fact that he connected with, now I know it was you, that he did some work for a company that was willing to take him on. And the reason why I say that is, yes, you might be turned down from jobs, but think outside the box. This is a hacker mentality that I'm not saying that you need to know Python and be able to crack into things, but take down the walls. Like, there should be nothing stopping you. And Stewart's a great example of that. And to second what you were saying earlier, he didn't just go and do his own thing and got his job and, flipped off everyone else. No, he's continuing to pay it forward.
He has. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, without giving away too much of the story, all it was I did an introduction for Stewart to someone that I was working with because he'd stood out head and shoulders above, a bit like what we're saying about Joe, I suppose.
Right.
Standing head and shoulders above other people in the community. I knew that he had the skill set that this chap was lacking to get the job done. And it just so happened that by him helping Ben at the time, then gave him something really powerful to go and talk to firms about on his resume. And I think the reason I bring that up is the power of networking and the power of community. And when I say networking, I don't mean collecting followers on LinkedIn or seeing how many likes you can get on your posts. I mean those meaningful conversations that we have. Are you texting someone while I'm talking to you? That's
my wife,
so rude.
Sorry. I'm taking care of some stuff. So
yeah, no worries, mate.
Sorry.
So yeah, I think just the point was that persistence, the resilience, and having the bottle, or having, very British expression, having the courage to put yourself in positions that you're clearly uncomfortable with and out of your comfort zone. It's so important. We've got a question up in here. I'm going to ask this first before I move on to my next one.
Yeah.
Paul Robinson in the house. Good to see you, Paul. Let me move you to the top so your head doesn't disappear. There we go. When it comes to hiring, what are your thoughts on companies not knowing how to hire cybersecurity professionals, playing a crucial role in this problem?
That's very true. And I'll tell you that I initially thought in certain companies, when you are told that you're supposed to use your internal recruiters, that that's your only thing. That's not the case. And specifically with cyber, and this isn't to knock a lot of the recruiters at companies, but I don't think a lot of recruiters have, or corporate recruiters have a lot of cyber experience.
No.
But that's when you go to the recruiting firms, because that's all they do, right? And so they know exactly who they're looking for. So, I mean, of course, try it with your team and see what you pull, but be open to using a recruiting firm, because it just, they're tapped in and you're not. Now,
without wanting to make enemies here,
go for it.
Although I quite like doing that, really.
Fun.
So mixed bag recruiters, right? I know.
Right. You have to find the right ones. You have to find the.
Well, this is going to be my question. So I'll tell you why. I had a day of it yesterday with them, not from a recruitment perspective, but just the underhandedness of the approach to some of these people. So I was approached. I'm not going to name the company, but if you're watching, you know who you are. Approached by a company about sponsoring the community and sponsoring some events. And it was a recruitment firm, a fairly big one, and jumped on the call with them. And from about 5 minutes in, it was clear that they were fishing for information rather than actually interested in doing sponsorship. So I played the game a little bit, didn't give them much info. And then at the end of it, he sent me a message saying, oh, well, actually, can you send us your pricing, because we're interested in. So I did send him my pricing. Admittedly, it was nothing like what our actual pricing is. So I didn't want to give him any information.
Right.
But it was, if they'd have approached that call differently and been open about the fact they were looking for help and guidance and wanted to do their own thing up front, rather than, getting my time by potentially saying they wanted to be a sponsor. One, it would have been a different conversation where I would have probably helped them and given them some more information. But two, you're now on my strike list of firms that I'd never recommend or ever deal with, because you're so underhanded. And I think recruiters don't do themselves any favors. And I know that they're so busy and they get loads of applications, but it doesn't take much to go back to people to say, thanks for your application, you haven't been successful, rather than that leaving people in limbo thing. And you can blame the numbers game or you can blame what you like. But I think a lot of it is down to some of the, I suppose, inherent behaviors that are being passed down from leadership in the recruitment space is the bit that needs to change. That's me getting off my high horse now. We've got one more here. Where is it? LinkedIn user, I don't know what your name is. It's not coming up on here, so apologies for this. But at times, recruiters seem to be the problem with people getting jobs. It seems people don't fit unless they meet the exact spec of the job description of what the fundamental concept should be, what matters. Take IAM's IDAMS, it's Active Directory on steroids now. You can't read all of it up there. In the form of Azure Active Directory. I think anyone who's worked with Azure Active Directory should be a good fit to do a role. Do you agree with that, Justin, or are you busy messaging your wife?
Okay. So I wanted to touch on the recruiting thing. So another problem though is the hiring managers. They need to make sure that the freaking job description is exactly what they're wanting. They have that control. There are certain things that the company, if you're at a company, right? Or if you're not, if you're your own, but you know what I'm saying, like at a corporate, there's probably certain things and policies that they have to add, but actually put on there what you need. If you don't care about a degree, put the degree and have, you know, level of experience, of years of experience. I've seen it multiple times. Like we're creating our own problem by not doing the job descriptions correctly. That's my thing, because the HR and the recruiters, they're only going to go off of the information of the person requesting the position. They don't deal with cybersecurity every day, right? And so now you need an analyst. Well, who knows the best about needing an analyst? The one asking for one. So if you are okay with someone not having a lot of experience or not having a degree, then put that on the job description.
Yeah.
So I think it's the hiring managers that are, I get what you're saying about the recruiters, I get it, but you can only work with so much, right? Like,
what about the ghosting part then?
Oh, the ghosting part. Like if a recruiter ghosts someone?
Yeah. Well, the thing that I hate is that really poorly managing people's expectations. So they jump on a call, they get them all pumped up about how suited they are for the job, and
that job,
and then they hear nothing back,
right?
Yeah, ever again,
because they need to be up front. And twofold. It's probably not something that someone brand new is going to learn, but you have to understand that the recruiting, you're using it for a reason, and they are pitching you. They're not, the job's not yours. They're pitching you. They want you because they know what the percentage would be for that role, and they think that you would be the one to get them over that. But you also are probably competing with other recruiting firms that are also going for that role. So yeah, when you're using a recruiter, I think it's fair to say, like, you know, hey, where am I at with this? Is this just something that you're pitching, or do you have like a direct, because there are some, they have a direct line to the hiring manager, and if they see someone that's rock star, they will get them straight to that hiring manager. So it just depends on what the relationship is with that recruiting firm. Yeah.
I think that there's so many questions coming through. Cool. I've just noticed Paul's made a comment there. I think the major problem is experience in cybersecurity is relative. I don't know if you want to expand on what you mean by that, Paul, or if you've got a good handle on that, Justin.
I think I know where he's going. I could be wrong, but I think, again, Stewart's the perfect example, right? He gained his experience and did it in a very short amount of time, and it is very relative. So it's not just work experience, it's volunteer experience, it's mentoring experience, it's what's the new one that I just learned about? Supporting open source projects. You know, there's different ways of getting the experience than the traditional just getting it from a job role is what I'm trying to say. Yep. Yeah.
I think Valentina's just put something in there.
Okay.
She got a very beautiful rejection mail this week. Yeah, name them. If it's a positive, you know, name them. We're not going to get sued for giving positives away on here, Valentina, so definitely mention them. The reason I haven't mentioned the company I was talking about is because I'm not up for litigation, really.
Right.
Too old, too tired, too broke for that.
Oh, yeah, and I think just let them know that you moved on. Like, how hard is that to let someone know that you didn't get selected?
I mean, not being funny, the amount that automation is used in sales outreach and recruiter outreach as well. You're not telling me that you can't use that same automation to actually provide some kind of, even if it's a standard response in 2 weeks' time when the position's been filled,
Right.
that everyone gets sent out. But we're dwelling on that. Let me jump in to some more of the questions. William Welsh, good to see you, William. How do recruiters find people for potential employment? For example, how can he increase his exposure, basically?
Multiple things. I would say doing things like try hack me, because that can actually show that you have some level of experience, and it can translate to someone that doesn't necessarily know that. It's easy to consume. What's some other ones? How do recruiters find people?
Maybe getting involved in community projects, having stuff on GitHub,
Having stuff on
repos.
GitHub, doing like Fiverr or Upwork, they look there as well. And the reason why they're looking there is if you are, and not everyone's business minded, I get it, but if you're putting your services up on Fiverr and Upwork, and they can see that you're really trying to get into this industry, I mean, I don't see how they would pass that up.
No, I agree. And while we're on that, for anyone who is a member of the InfoSec Live community, Precious has rejigged the layout a bit today to get the courses all in one place. So we've got some free mini courses in there. And one of those is an Upwork hacking course that I put together a couple of years ago, which Ben from Ronin and I had massive amounts of success with gaining pen test business.
Yep.
And that was from a standing start with no existing reviews, getting a couple of clients on board, building out that social proof.
Yep.
And you are competing with people all over the world who are perhaps a lot cheaper than you can do your prices for. However, not everyone goes, especially when it's coming for security. People don't always want the cheapest. Right. If you can demonstrate you know what you're doing,
yep,
you can make some decent money out of it, I think.
Yeah. And then when you're doing that, if you have done things like try hack me or you've done capture the flags, share your rankings. Share the level. Like that's people like quantified and qualified information.
Yeah, quants and quals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like being back in financial services. Let's move on from that.
Oh, okay.
Next question from Alsa. Good to see you, Alsa. What steps, and I've got a little answer for this after you, Justin, what steps can organizations take to retain talent in the cybersecurity field?
Oh, the key one is making sure that they can stay up on their training and expand on their training. If you
see, you nicely led me into my response there. So we are working at the moment with potentially UK government and some private industry here in the UK. The problem that's been identified is one of the reasons that companies aren't retaining talent is because they don't have any structured continued professional development. I mean, the other reason is money, right? People go and work for the government and realize they can go to private industry and earn twice as much.
Right.
But to address the ongoing part, we're looking at ways we can utilize the structure of the InfoSec Live community to build out structured continued professional development paths for talent once they're placed with an organization. So it isn't just a place and let them go. It's a place, and we've given them 2 years worth of training off the back of that as well. So I'm hoping that could be an interesting way to help retain talent. But watch this space; it could get interesting.
Yep.
Joe's got a question for you, and you are asking for you, so don't believe you there. Do people try to contact you personally for jobs due to your position? If so, how would you react? Asking for a friend?
So it does happen sometimes, and it depends on how it's done. The mere fact of asking takes a little bit of gumption, and not everyone would. It's really how you approach how you're asking me, and especially like if I already put out the job posting, I mean, and if we have a connection and I know you, yeah, but then but you got to think of this: if I've already put a job posting out, I probably already scraped my whole LinkedIn to look for people. That's me personally. I probably already scraped to see if anyone that would be a good fit for that role. Like, I mean, in my mind, if I am able to expand my team here where I'm at, I already kind of know the role that I'd want, and I already kind of know who I would probably want to fill that role, and they are a connection to me. But I would still, I mean, I'm still going to be open. You know, I don't want to be completely closed-minded.
No.
But again, I'm a small team, so I'm not going to be able to do it often. And that also goes into another thing. Oh, we'll do your questions, but I wanted to also in this time shamelessly plug the fact that I and other people as mentors should be doing more mock interviews, because how often are we interviewing people, and our interviewing chops are going to weaken, and we can also help people trying to get in the industry by taking just a little bit of time. Look at the job description, do a little bit of research, do a 30-minute interview where 15 is the interview and 15 is the feedback. So we're working on that for ISL as well, but I encourage other leaders in your own space to do that, because I don't know many people that I in the field with that are hiring constantly, right? But you want to keep that sharp. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. Before we move back to the questions, one question that I've got written down that I want to ask you is, what is it that drives you to help other people? Because you clearly are driven to help others, as are, a number of other leaders that I've met within the industry. But what's the reason for it, Justin?
I don't
Do you
know. I honestly don't know. I like helping people, but I don't know why that is. I don't know. I think it's innate, but I think that's a cop-out answer.
Do you think it's anything to do with the fact that you've served?
I mean, it could be. I mean, that's a portion of it. But just like you said,
maybe just because you're a nice person.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, for me, I said it earlier, that there's no such thing as altruism.
Right.
I've never been happier since I've spent time helping other people.
Well,
and I think,
yes, you definitely get. I don't know why I do. Like, okay, let's do the mentoring portion and like the interviewing thing. I'm not only doing it because I get something out of it, but I am doing it because I do get something out of it. I get the fact that I'm helping someone get somewhere, but also I'm learning from them, because I didn't know about Fiverr, Upwork, open source projects. I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm not trying to break in, but I need to. But for me to be good at my field and as a director and aspiring to be a CISO, I need to understand how people are getting in to how they're going to join my team. Right.
Yeah. And how they're not getting in.
Right.
As well.
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah. Right.
Let's go back to some of these questions. I see Sonny's pinning them for me as they're coming in. So thank you, Sonny.
Thank you, Sonny.
Where are we? Here we go. Alistair's got a second question here. Let's do that one first. What steps can organizations take to attract and retain talent in the cybersecurity field?
Partner with ISL.
There you go. Great answer. Anything else?
No.
I should be paying you for this. That's brilliant. I just think, all joking
things like
aside,
this, but communities like this will help, because your company, unless they have a focus on that, or your CISO does, you're going to have to create that kind of community. If you can't create one there, then utilize one that exists.
Yeah. And I think immerse yourself in these communities. Doesn't have to be InfoSec Live, but if you're looking to take talent on, there's not a better place to be spending your time, because it's so easy to identify the people who have got the right attitude and the desire, and importantly, the work ethic.
Right.
As well, I think.
Yeah.
Back to the questions, because they're coming in thick and fast here.
Yeah.
There we go. Richard Phillips, my good friend. Hope you're well. How would you differentiate candidates regarding soft skills and hard skills? Are certs and quals really necessary, as entry-level positions do not require any of that knowledge?
No. Keep that question up there so I can go back to it. But it might be harder, but if you do let's say you do the training for CISM through Cyberry or some different way, and you didn't pay for it, but you have the understanding of it. It's going to be harder for you to quantify that and qualify it on your resume, but you can. But once you're talking, because I've talked, you don't necessarily have the certificate, like CISSP. There's probably people that are newer that could pass it, but they don't have their years of experience, so they're not even going to tackle it, right? That doesn't mean you don't understand what that certain means. But then on the other flip side is some, people will just cert up and think that that's going to get them jobs, and that's not always the case.
I see it all the time on LinkedIn, people collecting certifications, it looks like.
And
I mean, I know some people like sitting exams, which is fine.
I would say soft skills are pretty important too, because remember, and it has been changing, but people will not even go to your company because of your ethics and the way that you do things in your company. So if that person also isn't a good communicator and is not a good fit for your team, I mean, those aren't hard skills. Those are soft skills. So they need to be a good teammate. They need to, I mean, like for my team, not a lot of, I mean, yes, we talk about what we're going to do, but I allow, go and do your own thing. Take care of what, I'm not constantly micromanaging is what I'm saying. Like, they understand what they need to do and can even bring up projects if they need to. Like, yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
Yeah.
Elsa, again, follow-up one. How would you define the root causes of the skills gap in cybersecurity?
The skills gap.
Well, this is the question. I'd say, is it a perceived skills gap? I mean, for me,
right.
I think the real gap is at the leadership level. Personally, from the people that I've spoken to in the industry, I think there's stacks of talent at the entry level. I think the problem is the matching them up with the expectations, going back to the hiring managers and the conversations around job requirements, perhaps.
Yeah.
But Justin, I'll pass that to you.
I think the other thing is we aren't exactly open to all communities coming into cyber, and hopefully that's not uncomfortable for you, but it's the truth. So if you have a disability and if you became newly blind, for instance, right? The job fields that you are going to be able to go into drastically shrink. And one of the fields that is open generally for people that are newly blind would be like a developer, because they can do most of that without having a lot of GUI interface, right? Yeah. Well, if we're blocking out a whole community because the tools aren't accessible, how are we supposed to fill that gap that we say that we have? And then to that, you have complete continents like Africa who have ton of talent, but because the companies aren't open to hiring remotely from there, probably because of past cultural bias, even if they don't know that, then what are we doing? Because the people are out there, they do exist. So I don't think it's a true gap. I think the companies don't know how to go get that talent.
I agree, 100%. I don't think there is a gap. I think there's plenty of talent out there, but the mismatch,
especially in Africa, from meeting with Precious and then also meeting the Black community, I was blown away by how I didn't understand that problem, and it's bad, in my opinion.
Well, I'm hoping from the chats we've had with Precious that they're making some headway over there.
They are. Oh yeah, there is.
Engaging with organisations, and I think the bigger InfoSec Live becomes, the more opportunities hopefully there will be for helping to develop parts that need the help through that community-driven approach, which seems to be working so well. I'm going to have to bring this next question up from Stewart, just to keep you on your toes. So what steps is Justin taking towards becoming a CISO in 6 years and 3 months and 12 days?
I'll tell you some of the things. I am trying to, at my current company, we're trying to do ISO 27001 certification, and that is definitely going to help me. I think bringing attention to accessibility within cybersecurity and being that person pushing it forward is going to help me. And just that's actually a good one to talk about. So for me, accessibility, I think, is my way to go even further. And it took me 25 years to find it. But once you find, in a sense, your niche, your little niche, go after it, because not a lot of people are talking about what I'm trying to go forward with. So I think that will help me too, because I'm separating myself from my peers.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think for any business, whether it's a business or an individual, to thrive, you have to find that USP, that unique selling point.
Right.
I think it's no different if you're looking for a job or whether you're setting a company up. I mean, and one of the things we see in this industry at the moment, I don't know how many companies there are out there now that have been set up the last 3 years that do vulnerability scanning.
Right.
But to say that area of the market is saturated is probably a little bit of an understatement. I mean, again, everyone's red team, blue team, but GRC for the win.
Right.
You're seeing more and more people focus on it now. But again, there's an awful lot of transition or relatable skills that you can bring across from previous careers into that, because any regulated industry's got governance, risk, and compliance.
100%. And that's the other thing that with your help, with you guys giving me the platform to do it, I wanted to demystify that, because, you know, even in ISL and specifically in the first workshop group, you literally have people that were leaders in their roles before and think that they have to completely restart, and that's not true.
And start as a SOC analyst. It isn't true. And this is one of the things that I've been trying to get out there for a long. I mean, I know I'm not in a technical role in the industry,
Right.
but I certainly didn't come in at an entry level role. I mean, I came in as the head of sales for a very small, admittedly, pen test company.
Right.
But again, you know, if you've got that background that you can bring across,
Right.
target the smaller companies to get your foot in the door. Because once you've worked for them for a year or 2 years or however long it is, it then opens up the whole of the market for you as well. And I think it's sometimes we do have to take a little bit of a step back when transitioning from different careers, but it certainly doesn't mean you have to step back all the way to entry level.
No. Mm-mm.
But then what is entry level, I suppose, is the next.
Apparently you need a CISSP and 5 years of experience.
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's crazy.
I've seen that a few times. Emmanuel, what do you do when you're going through 3 or 4 interview levels for a GRC analyst role for several companies, yet you're not selected? What's wrong? 1, your resume, or 2, your interview skills?
Probably both.
Yeah.
Probably both.
And what can Emmanuel do? 1, to identify that, and 2, to improve that?
Probably go to the workshop today and tomorrow at ISL would be a good start to understand.
It's like we've set this up before, but we really haven't.
No.
Yeah. It's what time is it today? It is 6 p.m.
Yep.
1 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
6 p.m. British.
I would recommend that. And what else? I mean, I don't want to volunteer him, but if you connect with Stewart, he might give you the answers to the test.
What test?
The getting past the interview test.
Oh. Right, next one. I want to try and get through these. I'm conscious that we're running out of time rapidly. Do you have advice for people? Good one, William. Not interested in SOC or pen testing. Is using TryHackMe and other CTF tools necessary for the GRC analyst position? Any
way that can qualify or quantify your experience beyond just a resume, and it's actually hands-on. I'm not only saying TryHackMe. So if you can find other ones that give you relevant hands-on experience that you can share, 100%. It doesn't necessarily need to be pen testing or SOC, right? I mean, another one that we really need, I think, a lot of help in is security awareness and security culture. A lot of times that does kind of fall around GRC-ish, but yeah, there's plenty of things. There's policy writing, there's building training, there's plenty of things that are not just pen testing.
I mean, for me, one of the biggest gaps in this industry,
that's another industry,
is the ability to communicate is a big gap in parts of the industry, and the whole industry's focused on vendors and shiny tools to solve the problem, when we know really the problem needs to be addressed from people and then processes. Right. So if you're the kind of person who's been a teacher, or you've been a trainer, or you're good at, presenting to people, why wouldn't you come in with the education piece? Because in my opinion, it's the part of the market that will make a huge difference, because people always say the users are the weakest link. Well, that's because we haven't bloody educated them properly, isn't it?
Right.
Which is a hard job. I've got no doubt.
No, it is.
Nicanor, question for you here. My cybersecurity dissertation keeps being referenced by others. Is this something I should mention in my CV?
100,000, 10 billion, trillion %.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, Nicanor, if I've got this right, Nicanor, you come from a similar background to me. Nicanor's given regulated financial advice in the United Kingdom.
Awesome.
And there are so many things that you can bring across from that. I mean, you're already used to working in a regulated environment. For one, you're used to the governance, risk and compliance frameworks, which, whilst they're all different, they all relate to cybersecurity. And most important one out of all of that, you've been dealing with people,
right,
for however many years.
Also, I would tell him, or I would tell them to also, if they haven't already, make sure that they utilize the LinkedIn area for publications, and have it on his profile as a publication. Because if I could hire someone, I think it's through the design, I don't remember, but if I have someone, if I'm hiring someone, they have like writing chops, I mean, come on, that's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah,
I completely agree. Last question before I start to ask you some really awkward Simon questions. Not really, I'm only kidding. Yeah. Joe the man, how is your role different from a CISO now? It's a great question.
I guess it's not that far. That's actually part of like the conversation, because the stuff that I'm doing could be done by that. It's just I'm not into that role. And am I already kind of getting the taste of that? Yes. But it's Joe, we could talk more offline, but I want the title eventually. I don't want it right now. I'm not ready to fully take that, because the other problem when you take that is, where do you go from there? Most people aren't going to hire a CISO as a manager or a director. So I got to be careful. Honestly, rethinking.
I suppose the natural progression is, if your first CISO role is at a smaller organization.
Potentially, but
maybe moving up.
If I'm already doing it, why? I am having an inner look at myself about the whole goal, because if I'm already doing it, then why do I need the title? I get it. So that might be changing. The goal of 50 might change, because
I mean, I
could do a lot as a director. I can do a lot as a director, and I might actually be pigeonholed if I do take the CISO position.
I think for me, I've had lots of different goals throughout my life, and some of them have been the wrong goals. Some of them have been other people's goals that I thought were mine. The biggest one probably being that I was convinced I needed to be extremely wealthy to be happy.
Right.
And I now use the Wheel of Life when goal planning. And again, there is a mini course that's free in the community if anyone wants to do it. Goal Setting Secrets, I think it's called. And it's about making sure you know what you're doing it for. So for me, before, it was about working to get money to buy more stuff, have more things, have more holidays.
Right.
But now it's about, I know what's important now. What's important now is spending time with my family, not being stressed every day, helping other people, and remaining content. So my business goals now aren't related to financial reward. They are a little bit, because you've got to pay the bills, but the primary driver is putting myself in a position so I can spend more of my time doing things that I like. And I think that's something that not many people, or not all people, do when goal setting. Think about the end game. Like you said, once I got the job, what am I going to do then? Then what?
Right.
Well, but if you're aiming it for your lifestyle and your family, then that's all becomes kind of irrelevant, doesn't it?
Right.
If you can tick the boxes and continue helping people.
Can we please answer the ALSA question? And then earlier, Liam was talking about NIST, and I want to talk about that if we have time.
Let me find the NIST one.
Okay.
First. Here it is. GRC uses NIST 800 to evaluate a company's compliance. I don't know if that's relevant to my government. I think you're in New Zealand, Liam, aren't you? Yeah.
So yeah, you would have to look. So there's a couple things. I'll break this down. So NIST, although it is US based, it is a lot of the other security control sets around the world are based off of it or kind of allude to it, right?
And dare I say, in the UK at the moment, being replaced by NIST from the feedback that I've had. So it's definitely turning into a bigger standard globally.
Right. So understanding NIST is good, but definitely understanding the control sets that are relevant to your organization are better. But if you're just breaking into security and you're not at any company, no problem with understanding NIST, because if you understand NIST, you're going to understand most of the other ones too.
No, that's a really good point.
Now to this one.
And then
ALSA.
ALSA. Here we go. ALSA actually came along and helped out at our event in Manchester a few weeks back.
Awesome.
Yeah, and also Dominic Anderson from the community. Both of them came along so that we could actually have some exposure for the people in the community with the leadership. And I think that that worked really well. And I hope you had a good time, ALSA. But the question is, if you had the power to change one aspect of the cybersecurity community, what would it be and why? Another great question.
Simon, do you already know what my answer is going to be?
I've got a sneaky suspicion.
Accessibility needs to become a priority within cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Accessibility, specifically digital accessibility, specifically since COVID happened and the lockdowns, the remote world is the remote world now, and a lot of things are there, and things are not reachable right now because even logging in isn't coded right for a lot of websites. So imagine if I'm a screen reader user, I can't see anything on the screen. If the website HTML is not written to where my screen reader can read the alternate text of the images on the page and understand where the username and login is, because if they don't have sight, how are they supposed to know that it's there? So even just logging in is a problem. And even further than that, people can't break into the industry, into cybersecurity, because it's not accessible in the sense that the tooling isn't. So I'll give an example. Digital forensics tooling, pretty much looking at logs, right? Not really heavy UI, not a lot going on. Almost none of them are accessible. So someone trying to break into digital forensics who is blind, it's not going to happen.
How do we change that?
Awareness and bringing stuff up like this and getting that information to the leaders so that they can change their security culture, because security culture at most companies does revolve around DEI and making sure it's inclusive. But I think, again, I went 25 years. I was at a major company with over 18,000 people. The person that worked directly for me was in charge of accessibility, or security awareness, and I was not aware of accessibility at that time. So we definitely were missing some people potentially.
What is it that's driven you to address this change that's needed?
Well, one, the job that I'm in, but I will say this, not every job that I've been in, I was all in. I'm all in. I'm completely all in here. It makes sense working for a company that's actually trying to make a difference, and not just like obviously profit because we're a company, but also too, I think a lot of people don't understand that there is a thing called conscious capitalism. You can do the right thing and make money.
You can.
So
yeah, I'm really trying to work out how that works right now. Actually, I've got some business advisors working with me on how to structure a not-for-profit with a for-profit, and making sure that it's done for the right. You can do it. There are companies out there. Just going off on a bit of a tangent. Introduced you to a good friend of mine and now a good friend of yours, Steve Hindle, the other day. Did Steve mention the glasses, the X-ray specs to you?
No.
They, again, I'm going to absolutely bastardize this because I don't know the name of them or anything, but they're glasses that will basically give you subtitles when you're having conversations with people.
Yep, I've seen those. Yep.
Pretty groundbreaking stuff. And I think, again, the technology's there, right? I remember my late grandmother, who She lived till she was 100. She was registered blind for the last 10 years of her life. And the amount of technology that there is now that could have helped her. I mean, what she had to help her was, I've got her watch down here actually, was a big watch so she could like feel the time on the watch. But she also had a 2-inch thick magnifying screen that went in front of her TV. She still couldn't see it though, but you know, I mean, how much has tech changed since then? How many things are there that could actually help address this?
It's a lot.
It's huge.
It's a lot. And the reason why I keep pressuring it too is that one of the things I think any person in security would tell you, the way for a successful security program is communication. Well, if we're not communicating to everyone, then how are we secure? Because right now, the sad part is, and in most organizations that you're in right now, the training is not accessible. And so how are they supposed to even know that to do the right thing if you don't tell them?
Completely agree.
Yep.
We've got time for one more question quickly. I have got another meeting in 3 minutes.
Oh,
so
me too.
Better keep this brief. Itza, are there any resources you recommend for keeping up to date with all the relevant frameworks, different frameworks?
I think the Simply Cyber call that is at 8 o'clock every day is a good one.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I personally have been using, what do I use? There's an app. I'm not saying you have to use this one. I use Feedly. It's an application that shows certain news, and I can tag it to certain topics. So I have it running information security, accessibility, some different things. So I look at that daily, webinars, and just reading the news, to be honest.
Yeah. Industry news. And I think, I'm with you on the Jerry show, you know, Simply Cyber for me.
Really good.
I'm normally team replay. I try and catch it 2 or 3 times a week to make sure I keep reasonably up to date. But Jerry's doing an amazing job over there with that. But look, Justin, we better wrap things up so we can both grab a coffee before our next call.
Awesome.
Massive thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate it.
No, yeah, we've had loads of people engaging. Thank you very much for the questions, everyone. Yeah, no, pleasure. And thank you for all your help with the community. And I look forward to catching up with you very, very soon.
And let's see this. There might be an accessibility webinar coming from ISL soon.
How exciting. Watch this space, folks. Have a great day. See you all later. Bye.